5 miles, angle 6.
Roger, that's the only one I've got right there where the pointer is.
Welcome back to the show. This is your host, Prickly Hedgehog, and another episode for 2023. And today, we're going to talk about the progress updates regarding the A-7 Corsair 2. It's being produced by Flying Iron Simulations, a small studio out of Australia. And I had a lot of requests recently for updates on the development of this aircraft, something that we haven't really seen until it was revealed recently in the team's end-of-year newsletter. In simple terms, the aircraft is coming along nicely, despite the fact that they remade the external and internal models from scratch last year. Now, a process that came about with the adoption of a new artist known as Lakoff, and as described in the newsletter, it began in 2021. The work was completed in Q3 of last year. Optimization work is now ongoing in the cockpit so it can be textured, along with UV mapping of the exterior model with a dedicated paint kit team working on that. And that's a system that will be useful for livery developers in the future. Animation work is underway on both the exterior and cockpit features, clickable areas, which has allowed them to test more systems for in-flight procedures, which is promising. The flight model is a work in progress with sophisticated work going on using computational fluid dynamics, or CFD, with the help of another company, Research in Flight. The company is an aerospace and hydrodynamics analysis company who create tools for the aerospace engineering industry and applications for that. The Flying Iron Simulations team have taken advantage of that company's flight stream program, crunching numbers for control surface analysis, including damage against wind tunnel data from the real world. Essentially, it's a validation study, and I'm very curious to see how all of this plays out in terms of the flight model's performance in-game. The crucial area will be around the boat for low-speed landings and other flight parameters of a similar nature. The team also experimented successfully with NASA's Open VSP tools, or Open Vehicle Sketchpad, creating their own in-house tool to convert an Open VSP model into a solution ready for flight stream model where it could be analyzed. The team advised it was successful enough that the tool is now being used by Boeing. Essentially, it has significantly sped up their ability to analyze models from OpenVSP in the flight stream system. They hope this tool, which is now publicly available, will allow CFD modeling to be more accessible to all sim developers. The team advised that the tool has allowed them to access the complex datasets on almost every control surface interaction, including for high angles of attack, spin forces prior to and in a spin, as well as spin recovery and post-stall analysis. It's also allowed them to analyze airframe damage offset effects, which is often only modeled with simplistic approximations due to data limitations. In short, this appears to be a huge step in the direction of highly accurate flight model development and flight simulation, something I'm sure the purists among you will really appreciate. It could mean a new standard, perhaps, for aircraft coming into the game in DCS world. It'll be interesting to see the feedback the team gets from its SMEs, such as former pilots, as flight model is extremely challenging to get right without all the sensations of inertia and motion, something which has to be recreated visually in the game just to fool the brain. Now, the second half of 2022 saw the team working on the complex automatic control systems in the Corsair, known as the Control Augmentation System, or CAS, and the Automatic Flight Control System, or AFCS, which required study of advanced engineering control system design principles before it could be implemented. The team do not have the exact equations for these systems, but do have enough information or input and output data to reverse engineer the system for the CAS feature. In conjunction with feedback from their SMEs, they believe they are confident they can fine-tune it to operate almost exactly as a real-world system. The system is going to be crucial to safely operate the aircraft, as without it, it is extremely difficult to fly. This system is critical, therefore, for the team to get right, and they are devoting a lot of resources to its development in order to make it work accurately. In conjunction with the CAS is the AFCS, or Automatic Flight Control System, which is in development, and they have developed autopilot modes for heading, altitude, attitude, and airspeed. Work is ongoing for the YourStab system, which corrects for slip and assists in turn coordination. They explained that the CAS and AFCS work in tandem and required a complete rework of all of their control surface models. This was also completed in 2022, and flying the aircraft will mean working within the limits of the AFCS, not trying to fight against it to get the best out of the aircraft's performance characteristics. As I said before, it is not an easy airframe to fly with extensive quirks, they explain. This will be supplemented by data in other parts of their flight model development, including data optimization of their code base using lookup tables and interpolation to implement CFD and aerodynamic data. They have developed a new workflow which allows them to more efficiently analyze damage scenarios and its impact on the flight dynamics, a dataset they are busy expanding on to include in their modeling. Part of the immersion experience of any sim piloting experience is sound design. The team were lucky enough to have some support from a Discord team member, Marine, among others, and they were able to organize the securing of certain documents and a professional field recording of a real A-7. This occurred in conjunction with Tulsa Tech University sound engineers and sound engineering students with an entire engine run using professional-grade equipment. The team provided a link to some shots during the recording process from YouTube, which was pretty cool to see and quite a treat to see the old aircraft running up. Furthermore, the sound work carries over from extensive work that they have been doing in other platforms, including Microsoft Flight Simulator projects, and they provided a huge explanation of how that is ongoing, and I'll refer you back to their newsletter if you want to read more about that. It's pretty interesting stuff. Well, no aircraft would be complete without systems and weapons, and the team also advised that they have been working on the sophisticated targeting and weapons systems for the aircraft, the code logic associated with pylon release queues, inhibition conditions, as well as developing calculations for interval drops. CCIP and CCRP release modes draw heavily from the various sensors and targeting systems in the aircraft before making real-time calculations to determine an impact point. The aircraft can now correctly use these methods accurately to drop weapons on target, and they are working on the bomb on coordinates, or BOC mode, as well as offset bombing modes. The aircraft's navigation systems and INS tactical computer systems are also being expanded and developed, including the waypoint system, storage, recall, and editing of flight plan waypoints. They are busy integrating navigation information into other avionics, including the HUD and projected map display, also known as the PMDS. During 2023, they will be expanding on the development of the INS and also IMS, as well as the Doppler radar, which feeds information into the INS system. Pilots will need to monitor INS drift, similar to the VIGIN, which requires pilot correction. The A-7 will also require navigational updates on that basis. This level of realism has been significant in DCS world recently, following the release of the Black Shark 3's INS system, which is the new standard for all future models of INS systems in the game, and was the discussion point for the Black Shark 3's release recently from various community members. Some describing that the full INS alignment process was still causing some degree of inaccuracies they believe was wider than what the real world one would see. Now, the team from Flying Iron have a working PMDS system that I mentioned before, and are focusing on integrating navigational data from the tactical computer along with lesser used functionalities for that system. A fully functional RWR was on hold due to a lack of data, but they now have that up and running, along with the multiple radio systems, which are also a work in progress. The team are also working on the aircraft's radar systems, focusing on the targeting functionalities and navigational cues. An area of interest is the relationship between data flow within the various onboard data collection sensors on the aircraft, such as the tactical computer's reliance on the air data computer and the inertial measure system for information. Data variances or limitations can cause flow-on inaccuracies down the avionics data chain, they described, and the team hope to recreate the organic interaction between the various avionics systems to simulate failures, errors, and inaccuracies as they would occur in the real aircraft. Most, if not all, systems have been developed in the A-7, they explain, at least in a basic state, and will continue to be developed through much of 2023 as they expand the tactical function of each system in tandem with the art and cockpit controls and displays. So what then is the future? Well, they have described that the development of the aircraft is in 4 phases, starting with the SFM-based model, the basic EFM and flight systems, the advanced EFM and advanced flight weapons and avionics systems, and lastly, Phase 4, the SME testing and tuning, as well as damage modeling. They advise that they are at the tail end right now of the Phase 3 of that process, which has been the most complex portion of the development, as is to be expected, and they hope that they will be on the Phase 4 portion of the development sometime in 2023. Now, there is no word, of course, on any possible release, but I don't anticipate anything in 2023 based on the fine-tuning and development that they have described thus far. I think what I like about this update from Flying Iron is the degree of detail the team have gone into to explain the process and what it is like to build a DCS model of this complexity, even given the age of the aircraft. There are a lot of community members largely oblivious to the depths of computational wizardry that occurs in these full fidelity modules. 2 weeks is obviously pie in the sky stuff for a lot of this complex modeling, and they are unfortunately years in the making, and that assumes there are no impediments or barriers in the developmental processes. These things can be caused by DCS core engine updates and other updates to the game which may require retrospective changes to your particular project. In addition, as the letter describes, the team are not just working on the flashy artwork and the flight model of the aircraft. There is the core logic of the weapons and navigational systems, which are integral to the functionality of what we require as DCS end users for the realism and the immersion that we're looking for from these complex and awesome aircraft. I think this was definitely one of the more fascinating letters that I've read with regards to an update on a DCS module from a third party. It's pretty comprehensive, I must say, and it showed a lot of the behind-the-scenes work that goes on in the development of these sophisticated aircraft. Like I said, massive amounts of number crunching, and also, in this case, some pretty unique and in-house ways to tackle the CFD development of the aircraft, which again is a lot of number crunching. I'm really looking forward to further updates from the team and seeing this aircraft as a playable module in the game. I want to congratulate them on the work that they've done thus far, and also their willingness to share so much of what they have been doing. It's pretty cool stuff. Let me know what you think about this aircraft in the comments section below, and whether or not you're looking forward to seeing it in the game, because I certainly am. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or if you want to, you can support the channel a little more with the super thanks button if you enjoyed the content today. We'll see you next time on the DCS SitRep. Cheers.